February 2019 Support and AMP. Questions thread. This will be the first thread dedicated to support question. Please keep any examples of what would qualify as support question. Any way I can improve my frame rate? /r is this normal? Insert picture of I am stuck, what now? Why does that and not work? For example, is this planned yet? For example, why is this not working anymore? For example, also remember there in X27 SA development roadmap, which gives you some insight of what the future might bring. Edit frequent issues/questions might get included in future threads. More general info. Please add an updated compass or some type of navigation system back to our bases in case we get lost. Me along with thousands of others in the community would appreciate it. I am experiencing significant lag in multiplayer, especially with 3 or more players. I am aware that the things that have brought a modicum of relief. Adding render settings to the config files. Uncapping frame rate. Running the game with the no sound launch command. This removes in-game sounds, though, so be warned. All of these things were found on a. These things bumped the average FPS about 10-15, regardless of the number of players. And none of my the issue was worsened when the other players were on different planets, but there was no discernible difference when on planets that are farther away, including Sylvia, DeSoto, Novice, and the satellite orbiting the Sun. 32 GB 3200 MHz RAM. Game is installed on an SSD. I can provide any additional tests, specs, or information as desired. TL. DR multiplayer. Can you please fix non-host vehicles from phasing into the ground? This is ruining the game for me, and apparently this has been a problem for years now. 3 issues really. 1. My white dot cursor has become incredibly small, to the point where 2 tethers are causing my game to lag every time I play. 3. With the drill bit, they in X27. Reworking on the second one. Easiest way to, maybe this has already been mentioned, but I in X27 am on Xbox, and about 75% of the time when I get into a shelter, seat, or shuttle, the game crashes and takes me back to the Xbox home screen. It in X27. Is there any lithium or tungsten on Sol? You can find all resource locations. I in X27. VE scrolled through in Haven in X27. T found this issue asked yet. I am on Xbox trying to play with fiancé. We have spent a decent there in X27. No vehicle bay anymore. The 3 printers. What's the difference between primary and secondary resources? I think secondary can be found on planet surface, might be biome specific like copper, only in Silva Mountain, while primary can be found everywhere underground in large veins. Note that if you dig, primary means it's more common, and secondary means less. Silva, my solid fuel thrusters are not lasting a round trip anymore. Is this a bug? I have that same problem constantly. It in X27 update. I logged back into the game and there was magically a new thruster on my backpack. It in X27 launch to orbit cost 1 charge, traveling from orbit to a different planet/moon cost 1 charge, landing on surface from orbit is free. A solid fuel thruster has 4 charges, so a direct trip surface 1 and eat. Orbit 1 and eat. It is possible to make a solid fuel thruster on any planet. You need compound, resin, ammonium, and aluminum present in all planets underground. I personally like. Thanks for the reply. I am aware of I am thinking that that specific engine I made was bugged, because I am not seeing that complaint anywhere else. What an X27. Your trip look like? Landing dozen, and here was my process on Silva. I built a new solid fuel thruster. Placed it on shuttle. This did not happen before version 1.0. Maybe that the subreddit for Astroneer, an interplanetary sandbox adventure/exploration game developed by System Era Softworks. Build outposts.
Raindrop, drop top, smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Cracking, fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.